Now let's build the upper leg of our mech. So for the upper leg, it's going to be very similar to the arm. So let's actually take this geometry, Control D to duplicate, and let's move it down. Now you can see it's not moving in the same direction, so I'm going to make sure and pop this out of the hierarchy there. And then I'm going to change also the move axis to world. And then we can move it all together, and it's out of that arm hierarchy. So let's put our hip pivot in place, kind of scale it down a little bit, and kind of move it up into position here. And kind of move it over a little bit. Let's scale it up a little so it fits a little bit better inside of that joint there. And then we'll take this piece and let's sort of move it up into position. And you can kind of match things up a little bit from this side. So it looks like we need to angle this hip joint down a little bit more so we have a little bit more room to work with this geometry. Let's scale it up a little bit, and it's probably not going to be the exact shape and size that we need, so we can always go in and shape it here. Let's scale up the top part of it so it's a little bit wider at the top, and then we'll select this edge and kind of pull that up a little bit as well. We can also angle this a little, so just take this and sort of add a little bit more of an angle to it. We can do the same thing here. All right. Kind of put that up around that pivot. Anywhere where we might have some penetration, for instance, on the inside here, we can sort of come in and take those points down a bit. Okay, and you can see we're off of our drawing a little. So if you want to be exact, you can move that over, and then but you'll have to move your pivot as well, and then you'll likely have to move your hip pivot as well. So once you do that, you'll need to remirror that geometry over to the other side. But I think that looks pretty good for the upper part. So that's one thing to be aware of. If you have an object that you can reuse, there's no reason not to reuse it unless you just want practice building it again. But if you are, in some sort of a production environment, or you just need to kind of populate something with a lot of similar pieces, even if you don't use it straight off, straight as it is, it's often a good idea, if it already is kind of close to what you want, to just duplicate it and use that as a base. It saves time over trying to build everything from scratch every single time. It's nice, sometimes you'll even have a library of things that you've created in the past, not necessarily in the same scene, but you can bring those in to start. So you kind of get a head start on what it is that you're creating. In this case, our leg is very similar to our arm joint. So it kind of made sense to reuse that geometry, even though we had to modify it a little bit. So once we've got the upper leg built, let's go ahead and start to work on this lower leg. So let's do that next.